Tonight on To The Point, a transparency battle at the Capitol.
I've released all my taxes for decades, and you will have all those new tax returns.
Governor Newsom makes his tax returns public, but restricts who can view them. Minimum wage is going up next year, the history behind the law that guarantees annual increases, and who benefits the most. An alleged stolen gun, a deputy-involved shooting, and a neighborhood locked down for hours. The latest on a wild morning in Sacramento County. And on the back roads, we go beyond California's gold country to another boomtown with a fascinating past.
How many stoplights do you have in town?
None.
$2.8 million in federal taxes. That's how much Governor Gavin Newsom and first partner Jennifer Siebel Newsom paid combined in their 4 most recent tax filings. Good evening, as always. Thank you so much for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell. The governor's office released 4 years worth of returns to a select group of journalists yesterday, and ABC 10 was not among them, raising questions of transparency. ABC 10's Becca Hobbecker joins us now with a look at the couple's finances.
Alex, Newsom's most recent tax returns show he is making less money now than in his first full year in office. The pay for California governor is currently $246,000, and that comprises a little less than a fifth of the governor's and first partner's combined income in each of the 2 most recent available tax returns, 2023 and 2024. But getting that information has been a bit of a journey.
While running for governor in 2018, then Lieutenant Governor Gavin Newsom pledged to release his tax return every year. He released them through tax year 2020, which he provided in 2022, and hadn't released any since before this week. In June, as ABC 10 reported, Governor Newsom accused the Trump administration of politically targeting him, saying he and his wife, Jennifer Siebel Newsom, were under federal investigation. The Department of Justice has not publicly confirmed any investigation involving the couple, but a source familiar with the matter said there are multiple federal probes involving people around Newsom, one involving his wife's taxes. Siebel Newsom is a documentary filmmaker who helped found several nonprofits.
Unite us together.
At the end of an unrelated news conference on July 9th, a reporter from the California Post asked the governor about whether he'll release updated tax returns.
I already have. You've had 20 years of my taxes, yes.
Since 20.
I know you love taxes. Donald Trump, when's he releasing his?
Well, you say you're so different from Trump.
Well, I am, because that's why I've released all my taxes for decades, and you will have all those new tax returns, because I have no reason why you haven't gotten them already.
On Wednesday, 8 news outlets and the Associated Press wire service received invitations to view the Newsom's tax returns for 2021 through 2024. The couple has asked for an extension on 2025, so that's not yet available. ABC 10 was not among those invited, but Politico was. Blake Jones is California Playbook co-author at Politico and reviewed the documents.
Well, we hadn't seen any of the Newsom family's earnings since they disclosed some of these tax documents back in 2022. So at first we were just looking for high-level information about what their income sources were, what their overall tax rate was. And then from there, we got into some of the details and, started to look deeper into, where they had done charitable donations, where they had done estate sales, and that kind of thing.
He says the couple saw an income spike in 2021 due in large part to the sale of their Marin County mansion. But after that,
his earnings looked pretty similar to what they had in the past.
According to his reporting and a fact sheet the governor's office subsequently shared with ABC 10 after we requested it, in 2021, the Newsoms reported combined earnings of about $3.5 million, paying about $1.3 million altogether in federal and state taxes. After that, however, their earnings and taxes dropped closer to the money they were making when Newsom took office, earning $1.6 million in 2022 and $1.4 million in both 2023 and 24. They paid $760,000 in taxes in 2022 and less than $600,000 in the following 2 years. Along with ABC 10, neither the California Post, which asked for Newsom's tax returns on July 9th, nor the nonprofit nonpartisan Cal Matters, which has previously covered Newsom's tax returns, were invited to Thursday's viewing. A spokesperson from the governor's office told ABC 10 it provided the returns to every journalist who is an established member of the Sacramento Press Corps and who had asked to see them, along with the Associated Press, adding that Newsom is the first governor in state history to share his tax returns covering his time in office.
I asked the governor's office today for an opportunity to view the governor's tax returns ourselves. A spokesperson replied less than an hour and a half ago, offering to arrange a viewing for Monday. As with the other outlets, no video or photos of the documents will be allowed, and we'll keep you posted. The governor's office says it's also arranging a time for Cal Matters to view the returns. The governor's office didn't answer my question about why the California Post was not invited. Alex?
Becca, thank you so much. California is taking another step to protect the state against new online threats, including AI-enabled cyber attacks. Governor Gavin Newsom today announced that the release of CalSecure 2.0, it gives state agencies tools and guidance to strengthen the systems Californians rely on every day, from benefits and healthcare to transportation and public safety. California launched its first cybersecurity strategy back in 2021. Well, starting in January, California's minimum wage will increase to $17.40 an hour. An annual increase to account for inflation is mandated by state law. But how did we get here? ABC 7's political reporter Jenny Huh explains.
Every year we're seeing an increase 50, 75 cents an hour.
If you make minimum wage in California, that increase applies to you due to Senate Bill 3, signed into law by then Democratic Governor Jerry Brown. The goal? To help Californians keep up with inflation, says bill co-author, former Assembly Speaker Bob Hertzberg.
And this avoided having to go back to the legislature and to create it over time increases that really reflected changes in inflation.
SB 3 passed along party lines with the strong backing of labor unions.
It was a hard-fought battle between the business community and labor organizations.
At the time, labor unions had their Fight for 15 movement, rallying for $15 minimum wage. Via SB 3, the legislature landed on a phase-in approach to that $15 an hour. Starting in 2017, when SB 3 took effect, the legislature raised the minimum wage each year. By 2023, all California employers were paying $15 an hour. Since then, the governor's Department of Finance has been tasked with calculating the annual inflation adjustment on or before August 1st of each year. SB 3 mandates the use of the United States Consumer Price Index for urban wage earners and clerical workers to calculate inflation. Increases are capped at 3.5%. This most recent increase to $17.40 starting January 1st is a 3% raise.
Big picture, the state's not losing a ton of money or having to invest a ton of money because of this minimum wage increase every year.
No, not as we see it. This is really, in terms of the net effect on the state budget, we would say very modest.
Seth Kirstein with the Nonpartisan Legislative Analyst Office says part of the reason is that
when their incomes change, their eligibility for health and social services programs change.
Meaning fewer people enrolled in taxpayer-funded safety net programs like Medi-Cal and CalWorks. As for which low-wage workers benefit most, Kirstein says those in in-home supportive services and developmental services. Certain industries as well as local jurisdictions are excluded since they offer their own higher minimum wage.
Is the biggest takeaway for Californians that, oh yeah, I'm making more money starting next year?
That's a reasonable takeaway. Again, it's an inflation adjustment, so they're kind of making, from a substantive standpoint, they're making the same amount of money.
Jenny Huh, ABC 10.
SB 3 was written with an off-ramp, meaning in a year of a budget deficit, California could skip the wage increase, but California has never skipped an increase and by law cannot do so anymore since we've exceeded the $15 an hour mark. All right, still ahead, you may not see the fire, but you could feel the effects. Why smoke from a Sonoma County fire is hurting air quality across the Sacramento Valley. And it's Friday, so we're hitting the back roads, skeletons, saloons, and gold rush secrets. Bartell's Back Roads takes us to a tiny town where the past is still very much alive.
And the heat is on this weekend. We're going to be in those triple digits both Saturday and Sunday, and a little hazy through the weekend as well. I've got a full look at that forecast after the break.
But first, another headlines tonight. A man accused of robbery and threatening to shoot a homeowner is in the hospital after being shot by a Sacramento County deputy. Investigators say the incident started on Folsom Boulevard in the La Riviera neighborhood and ended on Barracuda Way, where deputies say he refused to drop a stolen gun and pointed it at them, prompting an officer to open fire. No deputies were hurt. A fighter jet crashed today near Miramar Air Base in San Diego. The U.S. Marine Corps says the pilot of the F-35 F-35B stealth fighter ejected before the crash and was taken to the hospital in stable condition. The jet cost about $109 million. And authorities released an early ransom note today in the investigation into the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. They hope someone will recognize the writing style. A second note released Friday indicated Guthrie died. Both notes initially went to a Tucson TV station days after the 84-year-old went missing from her Tucson home on February 1st. Welcome back in. The Woodside fire continues to burn near the Sonoma coast. CAL FIRE says high winds are driving the flames. Evacuation orders are still in place. It is burning more than 140 acres and is 30% contained. While the fire itself may not be in the valley, it is impacting local air quality. The wind pattern allowed for smoke to make its way into the valley, decreasing air quality here in Sacramento, with its effects expected through the weekend. The heat also plays a role in this worsening air quality. Sacramento Metro Air District has a reminder. If you see or smell smoke, go indoors, close all your windows and doors, and recirculate your air conditioner to use the air that was already inside your home. Brendan, I'm going to hand things over to you. I know yesterday in our 6:30 show, this is what you were talking about. Yep. You're like, look, I think this smoke's going to come over this way. It's here. Now people are starting to see it and smell it.
Yeah, and we definitely smelled it last night across parts of the Sacramento metro area. But the heat plays a big part in that, too. It leads to ozone formation, which helps to worsen our air quality as well. So we've got that fire and the smoke that we're dealing with at times. And then we also, of course, have the heat, which is something we'll see through at least early next week. Weather impact alert through Tuesday for this stretch of prolonged heat. It's not extreme heat. Not talking about temperatures 107, 109, 111, nothing like that. We're between about 100 and 105, but it's going to last for several days, and we haven't had a stretch of heat like this yet this summer. 98 in Sacramento this afternoon, 100 in Stockton, 100 in Modesto, 90 in Truckee, and 88 in Tahoe. We're about 5 degrees warmer than normal in the valley. 97 in Sacramento at the moment, 98 Stockton, 98 in Modesto, and some mid to upper 80s near Tahoe. The wind is not as strong as it was last night, so it's going to take a little bit longer for that smoke to get into the valley. We are seeing some reduced air quality, and it obviously has been hazy out there today. I think a lot of us have probably noticed that, but those winds are picking up, and so we are going to see some of that smoke working its way back towards us. But again, it is expected to take a little bit longer. This is 9-10 p.m. now, and that smoke, that bad air, just starting to work through Vacaville, Fairfield, and then into the west side of the Sacramento Valley. This is after midnight now, and we're starting to see some of that reduced air quality in Sacramento. So again, it'll take a little bit longer, but it's another night to keep the windows and doors closed as you go to bed. 61 in Sacramento Saturday morning, 61 Stockton, 66 in Modesto, and 40s in the high country. Saturday afternoon, widespread triple digits. 101 Sacramento, 101 in Stockton, 101 in Modesto, also 101 in Sonora and Angels Camp, and some upper 90s across the foothills, upper 80s and low 90s near Tahoe. Sunday's going to be even warmer, though. I've got a high temperature of about 103 degrees. Both days a bit hazy with some reductions in air quality, but Sunday's going to be one of the warmer days. A spare the air day in effect for Saturday. Likely we'll have one for Sunday, too, as air quality will be unhealthy for sensitive groups. High pressure sits right overhead Sunday and Monday. That's going to be the hottest couple of days in this stretch, but high pressure will dominate the weather pattern all the way through next week and into next weekend. So the cool down is in the mid to upper 90s, so it's not really much of a cool down. It's going to be hot the next 4 days for that weather impact alert, and we'll stay warm to hot for the second half of next week. Alex.
At least it's not 100. All right, Brendan, thank you so much. Right after the break, from Iran to immigration, President Trump uses a cabinet meeting to send a message ahead of the midterm elections. President Trump met with his cabinet at Camp David. The meeting comes after a week of escalation in the war with Iran and less than 100 days until the midterm elections. President Trump used the meeting to point to an estimated 50,000 migrants that flooded the border to Morocco over the weekend and to the Spanish enclave in North Africa in a single day this week. He argued that the same thing would happen in the U.S. if Republicans aren't elected.
We have the safest border in the world. If we're not in office, our country will be invaded at levels that made Spain look small time. That's going to be a talking point for the midterms, because when you look at what happened to Spain, they don't know what to do.
Trump said today that the U.S. would be hitting Iran hard again. He added he believes that at some point Iran will just say that they can't take it anymore. Big oil is cashing in on higher energy prices. ExxonMobil, Chevron, and Shell all reported blockbuster second quarter profits this week. Exxon earned $14.5 billion last quarter. That's more than double its profits from a year ago. Chevron brought in $12.1 billion, and the nearly $10 billion that Shell made is more than double its profit from last year and its second highest quarterly profit on record. The earnings come as drivers continue to pay more at the pump. And speaking of that, let's go ahead and take a look at our gas prices for this week. According to AAA, right now, the average price for a gallon of unleaded gas in California is sitting at $5.65. That is more than 20 cents higher than last month. Diesel, $6.91. Right after the break, we hit the back roads. The gold may be gone, but the stories remain. John Bartel uncovers the hidden history of a forgotten gold rush town. Well, it's time to take another trip on the back roads. Tonight, John Bartel heads to the mountains of Idaho to explore a tiny gold rush town where dusty streets, secret societies, and some of the strangest pieces of history are still hiding in plain sight.
When most people think of the gold rush, they think of California. But deep in the mountains of Idaho, one tiny town also struck it rich. And today, you might drive through it without even knowing it. This is Idaho City, and if you want to uncover its riches, you'd better get here early to beat the traffic.
You don't have a whole lot of asphalt in town.
No, we don't.
No. How many stoplights do you have in town?
None.
Okay, maybe you don't need to get up that early. But to find out what makes Idaho City so valuable today, you need a guide who knows where the secrets are buried, and that's where Barbara McLean and the Idaho City Historical Foundation comes in.
Idaho City was the main location for the discovery of gold in the Boise Basin. There was a huge gold rush here.
The dusty streets may look sleepy today, but in the 1860s, they were packed with miners. The gold rush was so big, it helped drive the creation of the Idaho Territory in 1863 and eventually statehood in 1890.
Our gold helped fund the Civil War, and that's how Idaho became a state.
Today, the gold may be harder to find, but Idaho City still has plenty of treasure hiding behind its old wooden doors. One of the town's strangest treasures is Pioneer Lodge No. 1, home to the Oddfellows.
Oh, wow.
It is cool, isn't it?
It really is. Turns out these weren't odd people. Well, maybe just a little.
They used a real skeleton in one of their rituals. I mean...
They had rituals?
Oh, yeah, very elaborate rituals.
Besides having a few skeletons in the closet, the Oddfellows would gather and decide how to help widows and orphans. And according to Barbara, they often wore costumes for some reason.
Do I know why? No, I don't. But they are fun.
A quick walk down the boardwalk leads you to the Boise Basin Museum, which has enough mining relics, photographs, and oddities to keep history buffs busy for hours. It also holds a grim piece of history from Idaho's last territorial execution.
This is Herman St. Clair. He violently killed his mining partner, John Decker, and he was our last territorial hanging in Idaho City. But what makes this display so special is we actually have the hood that he wore when he was hung.
Over at the county building, you can attend a county commissioner meeting in an old saloon.
Do the commissioners, do they have a drink after the meeting here, or?
Not in this building.
Well, if you find yourself needing a real drink, head over to Harley's Pub. It's one of the last remaining 40 bars that once thrived during the gold rush. Inside, there's enough taxidermy to put any zoo to shame. Just keep an eye out for the legendary Chippelope.
They come out in the fall. They are rampant and very dangerous if you get in between their babies and them.
The gold may be gone and the roads may still be gravel, but in Idaho City, the real treasure isn't buried underground anymore. It's hiding behind old doors, inside former saloons, and sometimes right next to a skeleton. From Idaho City, Idaho, I'm John Bartel. Hope to see you on the back roads.
All right, to find more Bartell's Backroads destinations, just make sure you head over to our ABC 10 TV streaming app. They are under the Shows tab. Just scroll down to Travel. Bartell's Backroads, you'll see it right there. Again, that app is completely free to download to your TV. As always, thank you so much for watching, for always inviting us into your home. If you have something you think the team and I should be looking into, you already know you can always email us at tothepoint@abc10.com. I know we are getting closer and closer to this election, so of course, if you have any questions about any ballot measures, propositions, anything, let us know. We'd be more than happy to answer your questions. Have a great night. I'll see you on Monday.